Hey, what's up? Gary here. Tired of the stutter every time you change presets in your quad Cortex? Want to know what to do about it? Let's go check it out. All right, so you got me. My intro may have been a slight clickbait. There isn't anything you can necessarily do with presets in order to stop that audio gap. There is, however, a great workaround, and that workaround is leveraging scenes. So if you're not familiar with scenes are attached to presets. So you create a preset, and then within a preset, you have 8 individual scenes that you can create, okay? And with these scenes, the best part of using them is you can transition states of different configuration on any devices within the grid on the device blocks themselves. You can toggle things on and off like effects. You can change settings on amplifiers. You can even change microphone configurations on cabinets. There is all kinds of things you can bind to scenes. But the best part of leveraging scenes is you can use the stomps A through H and make any adjustments you want like you would a preset, but there's no audio gap. You don't get any of that. It'll carry forward any effects that are playing, any noise that's coming through from the input to the output. If you have something that's like looping or something similar, all these things will continue to play through with zero loss, okay? Compared to changing presets, which I will demonstrate for you in a moment, where you'll definitely see those gaps when you're making changes in those presets and doing that. And that's because of the hierarchy that's actually in there. And we're going to go through talking a little bit more about that, introducing you to scenes, introducing you to the quad Cortex hierarchy of the way that preset scenes and then stomps kind of interact and interface with one another, and what you should be considering using at the different times and stages within songs and the way you structure your presets in general when you're playing live. Okay, so let's go check it out on the device. Okay, so let's take a look at how presets function when it comes to what happens to the audio when you're making a change between presets. I want to demonstrate to you what the problem is that we're attempting to try to overcome. Okay, so I'm going to switch between presets while strumming the guitar, just so that you can hear what happens to the audio when we go between the sources. Okay, so just give a listen really quick, and I'll swap over a couple of times. Yeah, that sucks. If you're in the middle of playing a song, you obviously don't want your audio to do that. So this is where scenes is going to help you, because leveraging scenes is going to get you to the point where you can get rid of that annoying pause in the audio output while you're making changes in presets, okay? So like I mentioned earlier, scenes can be bound to your foot switches. So A through H can be bound to different scene changes within a given preset. Okay, so you can leverage those the same way as you would in the current form of the quad Cortex being in preset mode. That A through H stomp pedals is going to work the same way, changing scenes A through H when you switch to scene mode. Okay, and there's a couple different ways you can do that. So let's first start out by taking just a preset. I'm just gonna leave the one that's on here right now up so that we can give it a try. And then let's go ahead and switch to scene mode. So you got 2 different ways that you can do this, okay? One is by depressing both of these buttons together, right? So these 2 foot switches together is going to change your modes. And I had shown that last time, so there's scene there. Another way that you can get there is by going right here and tapping. And you can just change the mode by simply touch. So you can do this by, if you're standing at a gig or doing something like that, you could just stomp these 2 pedals together, and there you go. You can toggle between them. Otherwise, you can just keep touching here until you get to where you want to be. So in this case, we're going to move over to scene mode, okay? And one thing I want to show you before we even get started is there's also a different view for scene mode, and it's kind of cool. So if you care less about seeing the detailed grid when you're playing, and you more want to make sure what scene you're actually dealing with, swiping from the bottom of the screen up is actually going to give you scene mode. And this is going to give you different power. So obviously it's color coordinated. You can change those colors as well. So you can color coordinate the different preset pedals that you're leveraging and what those colors are going to designate. But you can also rename what these scenes are to something that makes sense to you. And these blocks are pretty easy to read when you're standing up on the stage. So this is a nice help as well, because you probably don't care to look at every single one of your device blocks that are on the grid. Unless you're a person using stomp mode and making those things happen, then you might care a little bit more about that. But in most cases, if you're leveraging scenes correctly, you can have a scene for each song. Each song can have a preset, right? And each preset that you're going to use for a song can have 8 different scenes within it. It's a lot of power. You probably, if you change your workflow a little bit, can get a lot more out of the device by doing that. And then you can still get to the point where you can do a hybrid between the two with scenes and still having the ability to use stomp too. So there's a lot of ways you can make that happen. I'm not going to show you in this video how to get into doing hybrid quite yet, but I will introduce you to scenes and kind of how this works. So I'm going to go back out to this view, all right, because I want you to be able to see what we're going to do. So let's take this amp as an example of a device that I want to be able to apply a scene change to, so that I can designate and kind of show you how this is going to work, and then I'll swap between a couple of scenes and you can see how powerful this is, okay? So let's go ahead and tap on our settings for the amp block here. In this case, it's a CA tremolo red. And what we're going to want to do in order to be able to get any of these settings being a candidate, right, to be assigned a scene, is to long press on whatever item it is that you want to make a change. So in this case, let's say I want to change my mids. If I long press on mid, do you see what happened there? All of a sudden now this block turned white, so this area of the parameter turned white, and you have this ABCD square that's there. That means it's now assigned to a scene. Now, to also designate what scene you're dealing with, since we are in scene mode, it's both up here and right here. This is where you're going to tell the Quad Cortex what scene you are working with to be able to set parameters that will be bound specifically to that scene. So in this case, if I take this and I drag it all the way down, okay? So I'm gonna say, I got no mids here on this scene, and I go ahead and I apply that, okay? That means now, I look back, this scene has no mids. And I can show you that by the terrible sound you're gonna hear with scooped mids on this. Yep, those mids are scooped now. And now, if we hit OK, we're going to switch to scene B on this preset. And now you're going to notice those mids are no longer scooped. They are back to 6.8 like they were in the previous version of that preset, the default, the global of what this preset was. And if I play the guitar now with that, those glorious mids are back. Now, if I take this preset, which is B, and I make a change and say, okay, I'm going to take this to 3. Let's make mids 3 on this scene B of the 1E preset, okay? And then scene A, I still want to have those mids scooped. We'll hit A, mids at 0, and then B, mids at 3. So again, like this is exactly what you can do with any device. So if you want to turn a pedal on and off or do something of the sorts, we can totally make that happen. And I'm going to show you that next. So now let's go to scene C, and we're going to see I haven't really manipulated much here yet. So we're back to 6.8 on those mids, which totally makes sense, right? But let's take this device. Okay, we have a reverb. What we're going to do is we are going to change the behavior to toggle this reverb on and off by being able to use what's called standby. And if we long press on the power button here, now you see the 4 blocks that have popped up next to the power, okay? This is now saying that we are designating whether or not this is going to be turned on and off in a scene by simply long pressing, seeing those blocks there. And then if we hit this should disable that reverb. It should be turned off now for scene C. So again, if we go back to scene B, you'll see that reverb is on. Everything's good there. We're good to go. Scene C, that reverb is now off, and it remembered it because I long pressed and toggled the standby or the bypass state on this pedal by simply being able to activate the scene preset and being able to do that, okay? So this is exactly how it works for any of the devices that you see on the grid right now. You can long press, make changes, and then as long as you apply those changes in each one of your scenes, this will allow for you to be able to toggle those controls. Now, I will say this can get kind of involved, right? Like, especially if you're really seasoning the flavor in your scenes one by one and making, complicated changes in each and every parameter. It's gonna be a lot of parameters to remember. So it does get a little bit tedious, but I will tell you this is exactly how you can go about making this happen. Please, when you get done spending a long time making all these changes to scenes, do a backup on your device. Make sure you're doing that often so you don't lose all that tedious work that you put in for a couple hours on a song to get all your scenes dialed in to flavor exactly the way you want them. And then you lose them because your device gets stolen, it bricks itself, it gets broken, something happens, you buy another one and you want to transfer these things. Backups are important. Please make sure you're doing that. There you go. Quick and dirty intro to scenes. If you got any comments, questions, or anything else, please ask them below. I'm totally open to any other content ideas as well for this quick tips series. So if you got something you want to know about, if I can help out with it, I absolutely would love to. Until next time, I hope you found this informative. Peace.